Today we're discussing the role of diet with the menopausal transition. I will be discussing my top 3 foods to remove from your diet and the top 3 foods to increase in your diet to help have an easier transition. You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This is episode 117. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause, menopause and beyond. Stay tuned as your host, naturopath Jennifer Harrington, explains how to use natural therapies to find your ultimate health and happiness during your transition. Last week, I spoke about 7 things to consider if your menopausal transition isn't going well. If you missed it, I highly recommend you go back and listen. But as a summary, we discussed the role your diet, the environment, lifestyle habits, nutritional deficiencies, stress, microbiome imbalances, your general health, and the role these factors play in creating either a smooth ride or a roller coaster ride during your transition. Today I thought I would focus on diet. I'm going to discuss with you the top 3 foods to avoid and the top 3 to include. There are many food-based hot flush triggers, and the most problematic of them all is sugar. Sugar and blood sugar irregularities not only trigger hot flushes, they also play a role in night sweats, fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, sleeping issues, irritability and aggressive moods, headaches, digestive issues, poor immunity, skin outbreaks, inflammation, pain, feeling dizzy, having trembling hands, hair loss, and the list goes on. The list could easily be a list of possible symptoms for the menopausal transition. But this is a list of symptoms linked with blood sugar issues. I'll let that sink in. Symptoms of blood sugar issues include hot flushes, night sweats, poor moods, insomnia, and weight gain. The top most commonly reported symptoms of menopause. Can you see why it's so important to try to identify underlying causes of symptoms and not just band-aid them up? Blood sugar issues are very common at this stage in life. 1 in 3 women will develop type 2 diabetes by the end of their transition. You have got to get sugar out of your diet. My second dietary consideration is inflammatory fats. It may surprise you, I'm not talking about saturated fats. I'm talking about excessive amounts of omega-6. Yes, omega-6 is an essential fat for health, but the average person is consuming an amount that is toxic. The most problematic oils are canola oil, cottonseed, corn, soybean, sunflower, safflower, and peanut oil. These oils are collectively known as seed oils or vegetable oils. They are highly processed and highly inflammatory. It's best to totally remove them from your diet. Omega-6 is designed to be pro-inflammatory. Its role is to aid in wound healing by increasing levels of inflammation and promoting blood clotting. This can be life-saving, but in excess, it promotes cardiovascular disease, cognitive issues, depression, obesity, diabetes, joint pain, and more. All things we already have an increased risk of at this age. Which leads me to my final avoid suggestion, processed foods. Processed foods are filled with the bad fats I just mentioned, plus a host of artificial, unpronounceable chemical food additives. Think artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial preservatives. A good rule is if you don't recognize an item on the food list and you can't pronounce it, it's probably bad. And this is especially the case if it's a food you could cook at home and this isn't an ingredient you would have added in the homemade version. there is a helpful app called the Chemical Maze. This allows you to look up ingredients so that you can learn about what you're putting into your body. Food additives are known to cause hormonal imbalances, reduce your immunity, harm the nervous system, and increase your risk of cancer. The Environmental Working Group is working hard to remove the most toxic of these substances out of the food chain, but this takes time. It is far safer for you to educate yourself about these toxic substances so that you can remove them now. Now to the good stuff. It was so hard to pick just 3. Let me tell you, there are so many fabulous foods out there that are really good for you. I hummed and hawed for so long, but I eventually decided on these 3. My first suggestion is water. Are you really drinking enough? Your body needs adequate hydration in order to optimally function. Did you know water is needed to regulate body temperature? Yes, body temperature. Being hydrated also helps to lubricate your joints, regulate your bowel movements, to move oxygen and nutrients around the body, hydrate your skin, maintain blood pressure, help with cellular waste removal, and even cognition. Just as little as a 1 or 2% loss in body fluids can reduce your ability to focus, learn, and remember. So grab a glass of water now. Before I move on, I wanted to say that water quality is just as important, if not more, than water quantity. Please, please, please filter your water. Please drink from glass or stainless steel and avoid plastic. Next week, I'll chat about the role of environmental pollutants in your menopausal transition. So I'll leave why plastic is so dangerous. Until then. My second suggestion is protein. Too many women are eating protein-deficient diets. Your protein requirements actually go up as we age. Protein breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids are the structural building block for every single cell in your body. They are needed to build blood cells, immune cells, muscles, organs, neurotransmitters, and even hormones. So you can see why I'm so passionate about eating protein. Without enough, we can experience hormonal imbalance, feel sad as we haven't produced enough neurotransmitters, have muscle wastage. Actually, sarcopenia can start at this stage of life, and it's the wasting away of muscle tissue, which is being replaced by fat cells. If you want to slow this down, you need adequate protein and some weight-bearing exercise. But once again, quality is key. Ideally, you are eating grass-fed meats or wild-caught fish and not deep-fried caged chicken or burnt barbecue meats. My apologies to the vegans out there. I am planning a future podcast on the risks and benefits of vegetarian-vegan diets, but this will be released much later in the year. I thought it appropriate to put omega-3 in the number 3 slot. This essential fatty acid is not just needed for your menopausal transition, it is essential for health and is needed if you wish to age well. Earlier I mentioned omega-6 as being a pro-inflammatory and blood clot forming oil. Well, omega-3 works in opposition to omega-6 and is an anti-inflammatory oil with blood thinning qualities. In regard to the menopausal transition, omega-3 can help reduce the frequency of hot flushes. It may reduce menstrual pain. It may help improve your ability to be well lubricated. It may help increase energy levels. It may improve your mood and cognition. It may play a role in weight management, joint health, pain reduction, and the list goes on. But before we move on, a key concern for postmenopausal women is heart health. Omega-3 helps to maintain the elasticity of your arteries, reduces blood pressure, prevents blood clots, optimizes cholesterol results, and stabilizes heart rhythm. It helps to maintain a healthy heart and cardiovascular system. Just to summarize, the top 3 foods that increase your risk of a troubling transition include sugar, inflammatory fats, and processed foods, while the 3 dietary suggestions to help reduce this risk include increasing your water consumption, eating adequate protein with lots of good omega-3 fats. I hope you found that useful. If you need a hand sorting out your diet, please reach out, as I'm onboarding new patients at the moment and I would love to assist you. Next week I'll be back to discuss the impact your environment is playing in your transition. Until then, bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide, and it is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend.